And for more on this case, we welcome in Dana Kennedy, senior reporter at the New York Post, who was the first to interview Penny after the chokehold incident, and then Chicago-based attorney Andrew Stoltmann. Dana, thank you both for coming on. But Dana, I want to start with you. You've obviously spent time with Penny. You've heard his side of the story. Were you able to speak to Penny after Wednesday's indictment came down?
No, he hasn't spoken to anyone yet. As you know, he released a series of videos on Saturday, which were the most explicit, yes, about why he did, but he hasn't spoken so far. His lawyers certainly have been, in giving me the interview and releasing these videos, they are certainly trying to give his side of the story. I'm not sure what they're going to be doing now that we have these charges.
Yeah, and just curious, in your time with him, what were your big takeaways and your response to yesterday's indictment?
I was not totally surprised yesterday. We have a very political DA's office here, and I didn't think for one moment they were going to let him go. In person, Daniel Penny, I said this before, it sounds odd, but he doesn't even come across as what we would think of as a classic Marine or a jarhead. He's a surfer, and he kind of comes a little across like kind of a good surfer dude. I certainly did not get the sense when I was with him that this is a crazy guy or a guy that could just lose it at any moment. And I was struck by a certain kind of confidence that both his lawyer, who was present at the interview, and Daniel Penny himself had, the idea being that they felt clearly that he was justified. And as you know, we've talked to some witnesses, the New York Post has, and Daniel's talked about this himself, that he felt this guy, Jordan Neely, unfortunately, was so out of control and so menacing that
and
he
was
really
a threat
felt
to others. Yeah, that he needed to step in. And Andrew, I want to bring you in now. Dana brought up earlier those videos. Penny's lawyers released 4 clips of him before the grand jury, ruling in the attempt to share his side of the story. In those videos, Penny says it was not motivated by race. He was trying to protect himself and other passengers. Did those videos help or hurt him, do you think?
I think those videos helped him. Look, the potential jurors on this case are watching TV. They're reading the newspaper, and there's been very one-sided coverage so far. So I think the attorneys for Mr. Penny are doing a really good job of making certain these potential jurors hear the message, they see the message, and I expect more of this to continue in the future. I think it's a pretty smart strategy.
Mm-hmm. And Dana, Penny has been interviewed by various media outlets in recent weeks. Some are saying to try and gain sympathy in the court of public opinion. What say you on that, gaining sympathy?
I think it's definitely helped him. I think that he needed to show himself because up until the time he spoke to me, he was a bit of a cipher. We didn't know who he was, and it was very easy to jump to the conclusion that maybe this was, a white kid that just went a little crazy and did maybe too much in the way of trying to restrain this guy. I think he comes across pretty well. Like I said, he seems to be a very calm young man. He doesn't seem to be somebody that's super emotional or impulsive. And I do want to add to that, because, for example, Tuesday, in New York City, there was another fatal incident on a subway. There was a fight between a man with his girlfriend, and the man with the girlfriend was stabbed to death. It didn't, get that much attention because it wasn't this inflammatory white on black kind of a thing. But, in Manhattan, it happens all the time, this kind of thing.
And to that point, Andrew, I think this case has concerned a lot of people, particularly subway riders, who now say to themselves, okay, self-defense doesn't work. Now what do we do? But somebody here did die, and in a very public way. So should some form of punishment come from that?
No, not in this case. I think this is a classic case of self-defense. I think most importantly, you have a victim here who clearly was killed, right? And that's sad in and of itself. But in the same sense, he was threatening multiple passengers. He was doing it multiple times. He's been arrested 44 times. I think the people in New York are kind of fed up with this. I think the question is, if the police aren't going to protect us and we can't carry guns, what are we supposed to do? And yes, somebody died. Yes, it's tragic, but I think this is a classic case of self-defense. I think it's going to be really, really difficult for New York prosecutors to find a jury to convict Mr. Penny.
And not a lot of time left, but one more that I want to hear from both of you on here. Neely's family did issue a statement following the indictment saying this, quote, bottom line, at some point, Mr. Penny should have let go before Jordan died. There is no excuse for choking anyone for that long. Any reasonable person knows choking someone for that long will kill them. End quote there from the family. Your thoughts, Dana and Andrew, and again, we only have a few seconds for each.
The details puzzle me too, because I know nothing about chokeholds and holding other men down, but I would have hoped they might have been able to restrain him in a different way. But I wasn't on that subway, even though I have been on subways where I'm scared. I would say at least once a week on a New York City subway.
Andrew?
Look, 15 minutes would be too long, but Penny has said that it wasn't 15 minutes. It was only 5. So that's an issue of fact. The jury will decide it.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.